Hi and welcome to another episode of the Elevated Beauty Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Fouts, and in today's episode, I'm going to be kind of talking about makeup that is also like skincare conscious and health conscious. So if you're interested in that, then just keep on listening. Okay, so I have kind of talked about this topic slightly in previous podcast episodes, but I wanted to get a little bit more into it. And I recently just found out some new information. I watched this. I wish I could remember the name of it. I think it was called Not So Pretty, but I'm not 100% sure. It was a documentary on HBO. And yeah, whenever you watch documentaries about anything, the director, the producer, whoever, it's produced with a bias. So kind of you want to take that, what they're saying, with a little bit of a grain of salt, not just believe everything they're saying. But I found that particular documentary to be quite interesting, and I did some own independent research after I watched that, and I already saw when I was watching it some conflicting statements that they were making, that titanium dioxide is harmful. I personally don't believe that. I don't think there's enough evidence to strongly suggest that. But, to each their own. Everybody can form an opinion, but at the end of the day, there's scientific evidence, and there either has been enough study or there hasn't been enough study. So, besides the point, the new information that I gathered from that was regarding talc. And so I've kind of heard things before about like baby powder, Johnson & Johnson's talc, to be harmful if you're breathing that in, because you put it on whatever and it gets into the air and you can breathe it in. So the thing with talc is where talc is sourced from, it's also sourced from I guess it's like a rock or whatever, and asbestos is also like in the same area. So you can't ever get talc without asbestos as well. So pretty much there's a high chance that if you have any type of product that does have talc in it, that it can also contain asbestos in that as well, because it's really hard and nearly impossible to remove the asbestos from the talc. So whenever I'm looking for any makeup from this point forward, anything with powder, I am looking for it to be talc-free. So usually they'll have like mica or cornstarch in that, or it'll be advertised as talc-free. Like you can get baby powder. I remember whenever my daughter was an infant, I did use baby powder that was talc-free. And I didn't necessarily know this, but I knew that talc-free was better than it containing talc. Because that's what my husband's grandmother had told me. So that's what we did. But yeah, there's a lot of, everything, face powder, eyeshadows, most of them do contain talc. And so you have to be aware that there's also a high chance of asbestos as well in that. So what happens is when you are exposing yourself to asbestos, it is carcinogenic to you when you inhale it. And with the substance being in the delivery form of powder, that kind of, you're swishing your brush around in it and then it kind of goes up in the air. If you tap your brush off, there's a really high chance that you could inhale those powders. So there was a woman on that documentary in particular that she had got mesothelioma. She was a makeup artist, and she wore makeup all the time, and she didn't know about this, and so that's what she contributed her mesothelioma to. She didn't have any other probable exposures or any other risk factors besides the makeup. But anyways, I just wanted to let other people know that, because I've been in this industry for 8 years, and I didn't even know that until I just watched that documentary. And it is also important to know that the FDA can literally not tell companies to take talc out of their products. They can't do that. Which is, I find interesting that it is proven to be harmful, but why isn't there any government agency that is protecting us from those harmful ingredients? So because there is no government intervention that is protecting us from companies including potentially harmful or proven harmful ingredients, we really have to educate ourselves, because we are our best advocate. And I think nowadays, since there is a lot more scientific study and there is more of a movement of healthy living, just living consciously with what we consume and all of that, people are becoming more self-aware, and it is a higher importance that we do have knowledge as to what we're putting on our skin and in our body. So on my Instagram, Elevated Beauty Aesthetics, I do have an ingredients tab, and you can click on that and you can go through facts about ingredients or potentially harmful ingredients that I have listed on there. So yeah, I just want to share with my followers and other estheticians about how I feel about this topic. So yeah, I don't wear a lot of makeup anymore, but I did make it a point to throw out anything that did have talc in it, because I personally do not want to expose myself to asbestos. And one interesting fact is that whenever a company is including talc, and I might not be exactly right on this, but this is what I understood from it. It was speaking to Johnson & Johnson in particularly, but they kind of set the standard for how to test if talc has asbestos in it. So it was something like for every 2 tons of talc or product that included talc, they only had to test like 1 teaspoon, which is crazy. And so that's how they got by with saying, oh, look, this is our little sample, our little teaspoon out of 2 tons, and this little sample doesn't have any asbestos in it, so that means the rest doesn't. But once that product was produced and people were having issues, people independently took their personal product to a lab and tested it and found that it did indeed have asbestos in it. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to know that companies like that they really don't care about their consumers. And I guarantee you that they're not using the product on themselves. So yeah, Johnson & Johnson, that was like a big rabbit hole, and they're a really unethical company, and it's proven to be. But yeah, just be aware of what companies you're investing in. They're making money off of you, and personally, I don't want to give a company my money if I don't think that their practices are ethical and if it's not benefiting me. So that's why I really do a lot of research into what I offer to my clients and what I use on myself. I would not use anything or retail anything to my clients that I would not use on myself. And it's really important to me that I make sure that they're cruelty-free and that they are non-carcinogenic. So those are my big 2 things. And it's sad to me that bigger companies don't feel the same way, but it is what it is. So like I said before, we just really need to take it upon ourselves and make sure that we're educated as well. So besides the whole talc asbestos thing, this is also another ingredient. This is something that I've mentioned before on my podcast. This is something that you want to look out for in your makeup as well. It's known as a forever chemical, or PFAS, also known as Perfluor. So there was a study done. They tested over 200 makeup products in the US and Canada for the PFAS. And they found that 63% of foundations contained it, 58% of the eye products, 55% of the lip products, and 47% of the mascaras had this ingredient in there. So they're mostly in like waterproof or water resistant products. But because of this, I have excluded foundation from my routine. And then I make sure that if I have any type of waterproof product, or water resistant, I am looking at the formula to make sure that I don't find any telltale signs that ingredient is in there. Excuse me. So it is a synthetic compound that they're used in consumer products for non-stick and water repellent, like I already said. So not only is it in makeup, but it can be in like water resistant clothing, microwave popcorn bags, stain resistant furniture. and of course longwear makeup products. So it doesn't just have to be water resistant and waterproof. It's in the longwear ones as well. So they're nicknamed forever chemicals because they're very persistent in our environment and in our bodies. So basically they just accumulate rather than breaking down. So they are essentially forever chemicals. They don't break down. They're stuck with you, and that causes issues. That causes, it's been linked to certain types of cancer, thyroid disease, liver damage, reproductive issues. So I don't look for longwear because I just want to make sure that I'm not potentially exposing myself to that. And if you do like longwear makeup foundation, that's fine. But I would really urge you to look at the ingredients list and look for ingredients that begin with perfluor, so PERFLUOR. So they're easy to spot, but many products do not include any indication of the PFAS on their labels, which is pretty upsetting. So that's one reason why I kind of like to exclude that waterproof and longwear, because I just want to, cross my T's and dot my I's and make sure that I'm trying to keep that away from me as much as possible. And again, I don't use nonstick cookware or water resistant clothing. I just want to put my health first, and I'm willing to exclude certain makeup products to do that. Okay, so lastly, we've already talked about the asbestos and talc link. We've talked about the PFAS, forever chemicals, and now I kind of want to talk about SPF in your makeup and how important SPF is to use additionally and not just rely on that in your makeup alone. Not only that, but how to reapply if you are a makeup wearer. So a lot of people will say, oh, I have SPF in my moisturizer that I put on before my makeup, which is great, or my makeup has SPF in it, which is cool, but that is not enough. So you can't rely on that for your entire day to protect you for the entire day. Sure, if you have a moisturizer that has SPF in it under your makeup, that's wonderful. Your makeup has it, that's double wonderful, but you're going to have to reapply throughout the day. So what you can do if you are a foundation wearer and you use powder, you can find powder compacts that have SPF protection in them, and so you would just carry that with you in your purse or whatever at your desk. And even if you're indoors, if there's a window around, you are getting UV exposure, and you do need to protect yourself from that. So carry a powder compact with you, and make sure to reapply every 2 hours. And personally, I'm more of a drier skin type, so I don't wear powder, but if I do, I find that it kind of starts to separate a little bit because it's getting dry. So if I were a powder wearer, and that might be a concern of yours, that you're reapplying powder again and again throughout the day and you don't want that dry look, bring a skin mist with you, a facial mist. So I like the Glymed Plus Cell Science Skin Recovery Mist. That's really great for dry skin types. And then they also have the CBD mist, which is great for anyone with inflammatory skin conditions or acne. So those are my two favorites. And if you don't have a problem with that, if you are an oily skin type, then just the powder will be great for you for reapplication. Now, for someone like myself who is not a powder wearer, so even if you do wear a foundation or concealer, you can reapply an SPF moisturizer on top of that. And that's what I do. I don't wear a foundation. I do wear a concealer and cream blush sometimes, and sometimes I don't. I just wear my tinted SPF. So I just reapply that every 2 hours or so throughout the day. And it doesn't disturb my cream blush personally. If you are concerned with it disturbing your cream blush or any concealer, like if you have an acne mark somewhere and you want to make sure that you're still getting that coverage, then reapply your SPF, and then just carry your concealer with you and just spot dab over that spot to make sure that there isn't any disruption. But it is really, really important if you're wearing makeup or not. Either way, you always need to reapply SPF throughout the day. You can find on my Instagram why that is so important. Even if we're not, tanning on the beach, we're still getting UVA UV radiation. Driving in the car, we're getting UV radiation. And that causes skin cancer, different types of skin cancer. And so many people are diagnosed from this, and so many people die from this, that I don't think there's quite the awareness that there needs to be. But definitely, if you're more interested in really the impact that the sun and the UV rays have on our health, definitely take a look on my social medias, because I post about that a lot. Or you can go on skincancer.org. They have a website, and they also have an Instagram that's called skincancer.org, and they post a lot of really factual and important information pertaining to how to protect yourself and the dangers of the sun unprotected. Not just that, but also tanning in tanning beds. That's very, very harmful, actually quite more harmful than the sun itself. So not only is it like an anti-aging thing, because SPF is the number one thing that you need to do to prevent aging, intrinsic and extrinsic, I think I'm saying that one right. Not only is it like a vanity thing, but it is a health thing. We're protecting ourselves from these cancers, and we don't want our cells to deteriorate. So that is what SPF is going to do. It's going to help to preserve our cells and keep them from breaking down and being traumatized. So I hope that helped you. If you don't reapply your SPF, now maybe you have a couple helpful tips on how to do that, while also preserving your makeup, your beautiful makeup that you put on at the beginning of the day, because I know that's very important to a lot of people. It's also important to make sure that you're getting coverage in more places than you might think. So you want to cover your ears, the back of your neck, your eyelids, the tops of your hands. They get a lot of exposure. And not only areas like this on your face, but like your whole body. So, obviously you don't want your face to age, but you want to protect the rest of your body as well. Personally, besides my hands and my neck and my face and my ears, all of that, I put SPF on my body whenever I am going to be in the car or when I'm going to be outdoors for any period of time. I apply an SPF on my body. But if I'm like indoors, I will put SPF on my face and neck, all that, but I won't put it on my body if I'm indoors, personally. That's just me. I think that's good enough. But definitely don't discount how important body SPF is at all. And your lips are something to take into account as well. So if you care about that, then definitely use a lip balm that has the SPF protection in that as well. And again, on my Instagram, I have skincare favorites tab that you can click through, and you can look at some of my favorite SPFs that are for the face and for the body. So thank you guys so much for listening. Maybe you learned something new today, but as always, I will be posting next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, for another episode.